Welcome back to the Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live daily news and talk show. I'm Tyler Kieft, alongside Diane Chabon. Plenty of Lakers athletes present and past making news on the gridiron and across the board in the sports world recently. And joining us to talk about those Lakers, particularly those on the gridiron making headlines this week, is Matt Catoni, Civic Center TV sports reporter and your new color commentator for West Bloomfield Lakers football coming up in just a few weeks. Matt, good morning.
Hi, Tyler. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on to talk about a few different Lakers that are making headlines. Of course, let's start at the top level, at the NFL. One of the best Lakers of all time, the only Laker to have his jersey up in the rafters at Lakers Stadium at the Swamp. Matthew Judon been going back and forth with the Patriots in the NFL for a few weeks, trying to restructure his contract, maybe get a contract extension. Here you're seeing a look at number 99 back in his days at WB. Now one less 9, but plenty of more zeros at the end of his contract. Now, Matt, tell us about that, the latest revision of his contract with the New England Patriots.
Yeah, as you said, it's a revision, not necessarily an extension yet. I think that's going to come later on. I think this was more so a deal done in good faith. He restructured his deal. He was only due about $2 million in guaranteed money this year, but now it's up to $14 million, or it's $14 million guaranteed, and he can get up to about $18.5 million guaranteed if he hits all of his incentives. So like I said before, I feel like this is a deal of good faith. If he lives up to the money that they gave him this season and that he performs well like he has the past 2 seasons, that they're very likely to give him the long-term deal that he was hoping to get this offseason. But it was a little odd because Rob Gronkowski of the Patriots spoke out about the whole deal, negotiating and everything itself, because he said that he's never really seen a situation like this in New England. And I think that just really speaks to the unique relationship that Matthew Judon has with Bill Belichick, that he's even spoken about himself, and that I feel that this was more so done out of loyalty to each other, and that Judon's going to live up to what he was hoping to get after this season by just performing well and just making the Patriots feel that they gave him the money that he deserved.
Yeah, it does seem like that's the case for the New England Patriots, a team that in the past has particularly said the skill players, you think about quarterbacks like Tom Brady, hey, take a little bit less money on this particular contract that allows us to open up more funds to go bring in better players at other positions and fortify this team. And perhaps that's their vision for Matthew Judon. He's one of those players that helps you fortify that New England Patriots team. 28 sacks over the last 2 seasons since signing with New England in 2021, including a career year a year ago. 15.5 sacks compared to the 12.5 in his first season. That is tied for 4th most in the league over the last 2 years, and so his contract now upwards of $18 million with incentives over the next couple seasons. And Matt, what Judon had even said, he told Boston.com, quote, "I think it represents the way that they want to keep me around here or keep me happy, or they're just representing what they see, that they see what I did and they appreciate it for the organization." They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to budge. They could have said, sign this and that's what you're going to do, but they helped me out so I can help the team out. So definitely loyalty playing a role in that. In Ann Arbor, Donovan Edwards continuing to be a point of a conversation for the Michigan Wolverines, and certainly someone that we are focusing on here in West Bloomfield as one of our great recent alums and expected to be a big part of that offense at the University of Michigan. But he's already setting his sights at the next level as well, Matt.
Yeah, he did an interview with Preferred Walk-On this past week, and it was a lot of interesting stuff. He even noted on his time at West Bloomfield several times and how it affected him at the next level at Michigan. He spoke on how he was the guy at West Bloomfield starting from his sophomore year on, so when he got to Michigan, it was a bit of an adjustment for him, having to be behind guys like Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum, and how it just helped him, develop patience and develop that next man-up mentality, that he had to always be ready for his opportunity and just be able to perform at his best. And he even spoke on how he chose Michigan because it reminded him a lot of the situation that he came into at West Bloomfield, where, they weren't expected to necessarily do that much, or nobody was really expecting them to be like in the upper echelon of talent and caliber and beating these great teams. And now, similar to how he wrapped things up at West Bloomfield, they're expected to be up there for the championship.
Yeah, with Blake Corum coming off a major injury himself, it seems that he's also healthy and certainly going to get a lot of those reps at the running back position. But what benefits Donovan Edwards is that he's not only able to be a prolific running back and has a great offensive line in front of him there in Ann Arbor, which certainly, knowing the way that Donovan plays ball, sets him up to have a huge season if he is going to be that primary ball handler. But they can also send him outside the tackles, whether it's in motion out of a 2 running back system or simply lining him up as a wide receiver or a slot receiver. That could also be something that we should really expect to see a lot more often out of Jim Harbaugh's offense this season.
Yeah, he spoke on how versatile his game is itself, how he can be one of the best receiving backs in the country. And as you noted on his health, he's healthy at this point, and he said that's one of his biggest goals this season, so just make it through the entire season healthy, because that's something he's yet to do at the college level. And he said that factors in with Blake Corum too, and how splitting reps 50-50 can help keep them both healthy as they try to get to the next level and perform at the high level in the NFL as well.
Yeah, one of the emphases of that interview that he did, or of recent interviews he's done, has been him saying that he wants to revolutionize what it means to be a running back in the game of football, not just at Michigan, but at the next level as well, and be that revolutionary running back. Whether or not that revolutionary title is going to be something that people end up saying about Donovan Edwards at the end of his career, it's something up for question. I can kind of see him in more of a role of the next evolution of a guy like Darren Sproles, or even someone we're going to be seeing here in Detroit, in the Detroit area, and Jahmyr Gibbs going forward, kind of in that model. And certainly you would think if Jahmyr Gibbs has a boom season in that running back, wide receiver, kind of offensive weapon role in Detroit, that could really benefit Donovan Edwards should he decide to leave Michigan after his junior season, when he's first eligible to go to the NFL draft.
Yeah, from what I gathered from that interview, it seems like if he gets the opportunity, he will very much be at the NFL the next year, and he feels very confident in his game at the next level. He even said that he feels that he can be one of the most prolific running backs to ever play the game, and likened his ability to that of Walter Payton and Barry Sanders. And I feel if he stays healthy and is able to get through the season without any injuries to hinder him, he can very much be drafted very high in the NFL draft.
Yeah, another former Laker, another Laker alum we can expect to see at the NFL draft this year getting his name called is Trey Mosley, wide receiver for the Michigan State Spartans. And he's expected to have a big year. His nickname, Mr. Reliable, in the Michigan State system, and was certainly that at West Bloomfield. Also, Dylan Tatum in his sophomore year at Michigan State, also expected to have an increased role in Mel Tucker's defense and Scotty Hazelton's defense. A secondary that really could use some help. We have some news from those two out of East Lansing.
Yeah, everything I've seen so far this offseason regarding Trey Mosley is that he's established himself as the clear-cut number one for Michigan State, and it's not really a matter of who's going to be the number one receiver, but who's going to be the receiver after Trey Mosley on the depth chart. And I would expect him to improve upon a very solid season last year with an increased role and just a dramatically increased output this year as well.
And while we have that picture up there, Matt and Jared, if we can go back to that at Master Control. There's Trey Mosley. He's was part of the unveiling of MSU's new alternative uniforms for the season. This is their Shadows uniform, black uniform with white lettering and some darker green trim on the helmet, as well as a green Spartan logo on that black helmet. I want to get your opinion on these. I love these jerseys. I'm not really a big guy on the alternative black jerseys that so many teams play into, because it seems a bit cliche at this point. But going off the theme of Thy Shadows, which is a callback to the MSU alma mater song, I love these uniforms. I think they're going to look great at several different games this year. They're expected to be used. What's your opinion on this, especially with Trey Mosley in the 1-7?
Yeah, I think these uniforms are very sharp. As a Michigan fan, I typically don't like Michigan State uniforms, but these are actually, compared to a lot of the other alternate uniforms that they've put out recently, I feel that these are great uniforms, and I think that they'll look even better on the field, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up wearing them under the lights at some point this year, whether it's at Ford Field when they have that night game with Penn State, or even against Michigan under the lights.
Yeah, 7:30 kickoff against the Michigan Wolverines at Spartan Stadium in October. Wouldn't be too surprised to see the Spartans in these all-black Shadows uniforms, and then the Michigan Wolverines coming in their all-white uniforms with their iconic blue winged wheel helmet as well. Also, West Bloomfield Lakers making news in the local headlines over the last couple of weeks. Last week at the OAA Football Media Day, they were ranked number 1 in the preseason poll for the OAA Red Division. That's the coaches poll, receiving 2 first first place votes in that ranking, with Clarkston coming in at number 2, Lake Orion at number 3, Rochester Adams at number 4, Rochester Hills, Stony Creek at 5, and Oxford High School rounding out the top 6. The full rankings in the OAA Red Division. But that's not the only place the Lakers are ranked very high coming into the preseason. Once again this year, even with the losses they've had, particularly in the trenches and on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be tremendous this year. As the old saying goes, defense wins championship. And even though they lost a lot of faces up front on the offensive line and on offense, there's still that stout defense that they had last year coming back with experienced players in the secondary and both on the front 7. So I feel that the defense will be able to help lead the Lakers to another tremendous season and hopefully another OAA Red title.
Yeah, another prep sports authority in our local area, the D-Zone, releasing their top 100 rankings, or at least the first 10 of their top 100 rankings for 2023 and the 2024 season. Belleville, a national top 25 ranked team at number 25 in the nation. Of course, the number 1 team, a familiar foe for the Lakers, both at number 2 and number 3. The team that knocked the Lakers out last season in the first round of the playoffs in that heartbreaker at West Bloomfield High School. Cass Tech beginning the season, the Technicians at number 2. And someone we'll see at home at West Bloomfield later on in the season, Southfield A&T, a loaded Warriors team led by Isaiah Zeke Marshall, a 2,500 plus passing yards quarterback, a guy that ran for 1,000 yards also and over 30 touchdowns overall last season, both in the air and on the ground. They're coming in at number 3. West Bloomfield number 5, in between De La Salle at number 4 and Caledonia at number 6, but right there in the top 10 once again to begin the season. So a lot of hype behind the Lakers. They're returning their quarterback in Rick Nance. They have one of the most underrated players, I believe, in the state of Michigan in running back Josh Tate. They are loaded at the wide receiver position, bringing in Cam Flowers, bringing in Nigel Dunton, transferring in from Southfield A&T, and young guys coming up in the system like Elijah Durham. And certainly you look at their defense, with a strong front led by Brandon Davis Swain and 3 returning linebackers in Kari Jackson heading to Penn State, and then Montel Johnson, a commit to Rutgers, and that secondary led by Jameer Benjamin and Blaze Rowe, both going to Division I schools, with Benjamin committing recently to UCLA and Bryce Rowe, committed to Central Michigan. So a lot of hope behind this Lakers team. They kick off their season in just a couple weeks. In fact, 2 weeks from today, August 24th at 7 o'clock at the Zenith Prep Kickoff Classic. We'll have coverage of the Lakers games from all throughout the season, every single week on Civic Center TV and on 89.3 Lakes FM. Stay with us on CivicCenterTV.com for all the details on their games all throughout the season. Matt, thank you so much for being with us today and giving us the latest news.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Matt Catoni, our new color commentator for West Bloomfield Lakers football. He and I will be calling each and every one of the L Boys games coming up this season. We'll have him back on regularly here on the Splash Live for your latest sports updates, as guys like Matthew Judon, Donovan Edwards, Trey Mosley, Dylan Tatum, and more athletes from our local area make news all throughout the state, the county, and the country over the next coming weeks and months.